advanced feeding management of sheep and goat for sustainable production. So why this title has been selected? Because the YouTube channel or this webinar organized by Sathyazerograzing. So whenever we talk about the zero grazing, that advancement of feeding techniques we should know to improve the productivity and sustainable mode. So before going into the webinar, we all will know about that digestive system of sheep and goat. So if we say that the effective utilization of poor roughage only by these small ruminants, exclusively sheep and goat. Always these animals never like to have such a dried material or any crop residues, because it would like to have that very nutritional green fodders whenever it go for grazing. So the feeding behavior, which is more relevant to the feed conversion ratio, so automatically with no input and high output, we can always say to everyone regarding this sheep and goat. So because of its feeding behavior, like in goat browsers, it consumes high quality feed, which is topmost of the plant, which will have high quantity of protein and carbohydrate and with less amount of fiber. And even in this sheep also grazes, which also used to have that top of the grasses are grazing by these animals. These are all the advantages of these behaviors and digestive system, which will give the more effective output. And livestock population of India, as all we know, nearly 41% of small ruminants are present, sheep and goat, as per the census in 2019. And overall, the meat production is that from last 2016 to 2023, almost it has been increased from 7.39 tons to 9.77 tons. But if you see, per capita availability is 7 kgs per annum. And with this small amount of per capita availability, still India ranks 5th in the world production, in the world for total meat production. So here we can see that really 41% contributed by the poultry, but even though 25% contribution from the sheep and goat. And in throughout world, India places in second place on sheep and goat meat production, almost where that China produces more than 5,000 kilotons, but India produces up to 600 to 700 kilotons per year. So these meats are exported from India to different parts of world. And here we can see from 2015 to 2023, it has been reduced from 135 to till 90 tons. But after Corona, it started to increase from 44.57 million tons to 66. So it indicates that the sheep and goat rearing is becoming most important in throughout country. And here we can see last of our consumer when we do the exports, that is US, United Arab Emirates. So more than 60% we are exporting. Why I am saying these things means, in 2050, the expectation of human population is more than 9 billions. In each and every human diet, there will be the animal product will be there. It may be the meat or it may be the milk. So feeding the planet is most important through animal husbandry activities, because energy is our life. So with this background, the important thing which we have taken in the advanced feeding management in sheep and goat, because these are all ruminants, it has the capability of producing the high quality protein for human diets, and it is able to change the fibrous feed into the very good human food. But at the same time, the problem in ruminants are exclusively on emission of greenhouse gases. So more rapid population of the human being will generate large demand for the food, and food exclusively on animal product also. So conversion of materials which are not fit for human edible can be very efficiently can be changed or modified, converted to the edible human food only by these ruminants, by feeding very low nutritive value of roughages, tree fodders, or any other byproducts. So for researchers, we have a lot of opportunities and challenges to increase the animal productivity through nutrition and feeding. That is the big challenge for us. So that's why I thought this topic is very apt for this webinar. And the constraints, when we think about the feeding of sheep and goat, the most constraints are like in India, most of 70% of animals reared by landless, marginal and small farmers. And these ruminants are prevailing in local livestock system, mostly depends upon the range grazing. And whenever it come back to the home, there will be the small amount of hand fed through to the animals by utilizing cereals, vegetables, or sometimes some forages. And we look at this feeding system, it is 100% unbalanced. And if we think about that scientific feeding management, it making the most cost, it is 60% and above. And also the ruminants are associated with the release of methane from enteric fermentation, and also it produces the nitrogen oxide from the manure, which also will spoil that land. And if you land, and apart from that, whenever it is going for grazing, over grazing, it's degrade the rangeland and pollution of the environment and increasing the water consumption. So these are all the constraints in our making the advanced feeding management in ruminants. So as usual, as a nutritionist, all nutritionists can say for any species, for their growth improvement, absolutely we used to say the recommendation of concentrate feeding. So concentrate feeding definitely gives that balanced diet and produces the energy, protein, fat, vitamins, and minerals according to their to the requirement of the animals in the different physiological status, from maintenance, growth, pregnancy, and lactation. And absolutely we have to start this concentrate feeding from creep to lactation. This is most important. When we talk about this sustainability, what about the economic? When we start to feed the animal with concentrate. So this is adopted. I'm trying to say that advanced feeding techniques, which is comparable with adaptable feeding techniques, which will be sustainable for long-term production. So in the place of concentrate feeding, we can go for that different appropriate species and cultivars through various forages and legumes for specific agroclimatic situation to enhance the livestock productivity. Because 70% of animals going for extensive rearing and going for grazing. So the grazing land may be adapted for the different types of forages and legumes. For those things, if research is needed, we have to screen the locally available resources which are well adapted species and cultivars, agronomy, nutritional evaluation, utilization. After that, we have to propagate throughout India or throughout local places with available locally resources under commercial conditions. So for this, we need to make effort jointly by crop and animal scientists. And second thing, that pellet feeding. Yes, I need not to explain much on pellet feeding. Definitely it increases the palatability, digestibility, enhancing the growth. And when we are going for pellet feeding with commonly available feed ingredients which are most cost, in that place we can introduce that agro-industrial byproducts. So recycling, reprocessing and utilization of agro-industrial byproducts definitely will reduce the feeding cost. So only the problem is collection, preservation, and anti-nutritional factors. If we find out the solution for this, elevating this all those factors, definitely we can utilize these anti-nutritional factors such as tannin and all. We can change into the improvement of the nutrient digestibility at recommended quantity. That is possible. So the important thing which is not utilized for these agro-industrial byproducts are the availability and the distance, and otherwise these agro-industrial byproducts are going for some other uses like fuel or manure or something else. So because of these things, we cannot utilize much, and very limited knowledge on nutritive value where these agro-industrial products are available with different processing. See, for example, in what are the in books are available, the nutritive value of agro-industrial byproducts is completely varied because of the industry has introduced new technology for producing their food. So there we are getting different types of agro-industrial products with different type of nutritive value. So we have to evaluate that for utilization, effective utilization at farmers' food steps. So these are all the agro-industrial byproducts which can give more quantity of fiber to the animals. But these agro-industrial byproducts nowadays going for fuel. not effectively utilized for the animals. Or some other else, if is going for making the wood, like that it is going. So we have to think over effective utilization of agro-industrial byproducts. And one more thing, what in Tanuvas we have done when I have worked in Institute of Animal Nutrition in last 13 years, we have developed one preservation technology of the wet distillers grains. Usually wet distillers grains contains, it should contain only 72% of moisture. If the factory is not doing that process very pakka, automatically the moisture content going above 80%. With high moisture content, storage is the big problem to the farmers. Wherever the sheep and goat farmers are utilizing these products, it is locally available. For example, in northeastern districts are more available because more factories are exist in these areas. So by identifying these farmers' problem, in 2015, we have purchased this product at the cost of 8 rupees or 7 rupees from the doorsteps of the factory. And we have taken some quantity of the wet distiller grains, barley based. With that, we have ordered this locally available broken rice and de-oiled rice bran, mineral mixture and salt. It was containing perfectly 16% of crude protein and more than 60% of TDN. So here you can see this hand mixing of this material, and the machinery which is available in our institute, that is single screw extruded machine. Here one hopper is there. We are feeding that material, and you can see this the expanded extruded feed material are getting down. So this material containing nearly 45 to 50% of moisture. It has been dried in the vents in sunny days within 3 hours, and it has been stored as a very good extruded feed in the container. So it was, we have conducted trial for almost 4 to 5 years. What is the effect of this distilled grain based extruded feed on production and reproduction performance exclusively on goats? We got very good result. Really, it is getting down that feeding cost and improving that because of extrusion, improving the digestibility, improving the growth, and everything has got improved. And one more thing in our institute we have done. See, these techniques I am saying, these adaptable feeding techniques, which when we compare to the advanced feeding techniques. And the most another thing is that so many tree fodders are available. So the tree fodder can be pruned and shade dried, and it can be ground like this, and it can be utilized very effectively as a tree leaf meal to the animals. Sir, we are preparing tree leaf meal. The same tree leaf meal, after including all those required feed ingredients to form as a complete feed, we have prepared as a extruded feed, and we have done the research on this extruded feed, leaf meal based extruded feed in goat. So apart from this, then the most advanced techniques, TMR, total mixed ration. This is the whenever we for any species of ruminants, if we talk about this advanced feeding technique, TMR plays in the role. Yes, of course, it is balanced and economical feeding for livestock for getting the optimum productivity. And whenever we face the scarcity problem, or whenever we couldn't feed the animal with balanced diet, TMR is one of the best thing, because whenever the animal bite, each bite will have balanced quantity of energy and protein. So it definitely minimizes the feeding cost and labor cost. So we can easily blend the concentrate and the different type of locally available forage sources into this TMR, and it can be effectively utilized. So here you can see this leaf meal has been utilized with the concentrate, and we have prepared the TMR in mash form. That trial also we have conducted in our institute. So when we talk about the TMR, absolutely we have to think about complete feed block. Yes, complete feed block is a solid product which will have the roughage and concentrate at the proportion required by the ruminants, and it is capable to supply all nutrient requirements to the animals. So definitely it creates the synchronization of energy and protein on all nutrients and release inside the rumen. And it can be easily formulated with available crop residues like straw or sorghum straw or wheat straw, whatever may be available as a dry fodder. And we can include the molasses and mineral salts to make it palatable to the animal. And the advantage of the complete block, it occupies less space during storage, and it is easy to transport different parts of country, and it is effectively utilized with the locally available roughages. So for stall-fed animals, it is very advantageous. One, we can store it and feed to the animal. And otherwise, if the animal going for grazing, after coming from the grazing, we can feed one block at around 1 kg to 6 to 8 animals as a supplement to the animals. And it has that used for strategic provide treatment and against nematodes, and supplement wherever the deficiency of nutrients are there as a supplements, it can be utilized. So these are all the blocks which we have prepared. The upper one you are seeing that Clariceria, and this one's subable blocks, and down one here you are seeing that 2/3 part of leguminous, non-leguminous, and 1/3 part with leguminous, Stylosanthus and Cofor green fodder. We have prepared the complete fodder block. So different varieties of complete fodder block, nearly 10 to 15 varieties of complete fodder block or complete feed block has been developed at Institute of Animal Nutrition. We have conducted the trial on storage ability and palatability of the ruminants. And this one is the straw block which we have utilized for the dairy cattle. So again, if we come for these advanced feed techniques, yes, of course, we have to introduce feed additives for any species of animals to get more advantages. So not only for taste or palatability, increasing the digestion, health status, this and that. Apart from that, feed additives contributing exclusively on rumen on mitigating methane emission. So that is most important. We have to include the feed additives in the feeding of sheep and goat. Of course, the nutraceuticals, yes, as the same effect which we feed additives has, the nutraceuticals are nowadays are utilizing in feeding ruminants or any type of species of the animal, livestock and poultry. So different types of nutraceuticals like isoprenates, phenolic compounds, protein, amino acid based content, carbohydrate derivatives, fatty acids, minerals and microbials are utilized in the feeding of advanced feeding technology in sheep and goat. So secondary compounds feeding. When I talk about these feed additives and nutraceuticals, so the adaptable technology about secondary compounds feeding. So secondary compounds feeding such as phenolics, saponins, alkalides, non-protein amino acids, essential oils, glycosides are there. And tannins or saponins are beneficial effect which will have the natural definition and reducing the methane production. So condensed tannin reduces the gastrointestinal parasites, and it can be utilized as a growth promoters. And European Union are saying that they are banning that feed additives which are more harmful to the animals. Natural feed additives such as the secondary compound feeding has been introduced in their feeding system for improving the productivity of the animals and reducing the methane emission. So if you take this secondary compound feeding, is nothing but whenever animals are going for grazing, some farmers take care of feeding the stray fodders which are available in their local places. Definitely it has the secondary compounds feeding. So from our lot of almost before any 50 years, 100 years of experience of grazing these animals exclusively on goat, because of this feeding behavior, automatically it is taking that secondary compounds feeding. So it's ultimately giving that a lower zero input and higher output because of this system of rearing. Also one of the important factor that we are doing in our extensive rearing of the animals. It may be definitely against that zero grazing, but instead of that, we can rear those trees in our land itself, in farm itself. We can cut and feed the animals. Thereby, we can introduce the secondary compounds. For example, it's a very good tree fodders are Glariceria and subable. So it is present mostly in foliage, fodder shrubs, tree fodders, fruits, and seeds. And when we talk about these nutraceuticals and feed additives, and one more important role by these fodder shrubs and trees. As all we know, goat always like to have fodder shrubs, and it is existing in the environment of any countries, and it has higher essential nutrients and low anti-nutritive factor. For example, prosopis has that low in nutrients and but high in secondary compounds. Likewise, acacia having both nutrients are high and secondary compounds are high. So if we couldn't make the animal for grazing, in zero grazing method, we can grow this acacia and prosopis and we can cut and feed the animals. And these shrubs exist in this environment to maintain the ecological factor and withstand in the grazing, because the animals, whenever going for grazing, it choose the selection of the shrubs. So definitely selection of different shrubs, definitely it introduces different secondary compounds and it automatically improves the digestibility and increases the productivity. So if we know the proper treatment and management of these forest shrubs and trees, definitely it can be utilized in the feeding system. So for this, we should understand the knowledge on the nutrient and what are the anti-nutritional factors are present in these things. So this is important advisory service have to be done by the field veterinarians to the farmers and to educate them what is the importance of forest shrubs and trees and how it can improve the productivity of the animals. So these are all different photographs which we have taken in our farm itself. So you can see that feeding behavior of the animals, how lavishly taking the shrubs. So we can see these photographs. And another thing is cactus calodus, another promising shrub species, because nowadays drought is facing lot of problem and reducing the availability of fodders or grasses in rangelands. So during that condition, wherever these cactus are growing, the animals are whenever going for grazing, it is lavish to have that cactus because it contains high quantity of water, high biomass yield, and the water it is effectively utilized and by these animals. It's supplying high soluble carbohydrates, calcium, carotene, low in fiber. Only the problem is low in protein, and otherwise it's supplying 50% of water requirement of these animals. So crude protein content can be improved in these shrub species by introducing the SSF technique by Aspergillus and Saccharomyces. So these are all the photographs. You can see this, even the thrones are there. The animals levies are to goat levies to have this cactus. And rangeland management. This is also adaptable feeding techniques. So we cannot refuse that extensive rearing of the sheep and goat, because 75% of farmers or animals depends on the grazing land. So rangeland management is important factor for feeding these animals, because we should ensure the equilibrium between the seasonal dietary requirements of animals and is the range production. And also we should know, suppose one village having the population of sheep and goat more than that carrying capacity of that rangeland, definitely it very quickly degrade that rangeland. So we can advise the village level administration for rotational or deferred grazing. And also we can manipulate this vegetation by introducing the different species. Sometimes we can introduce sheep and goat at a time, or goat and dairy cattle at a time, so that we can improvise the vegetation in the rangeland. And if it is pertaining to the private partners, they can easily maintain that rangeland by close covered and increase that biomass production. In communal system, rotational grazing is very, very difficult. It is not controlled. Or otherwise, we can take that technique once in 3 years. Consequently, we can rehabilitate the degraded rangelands by improving the grass production. So in protected rangelands, biomass production will be good, and it can be floristic composition also will be improved. So here you can see these white flowers. This is nothing but Celosia argentea and some of different types of shrub species. It is very lavished by this our Madras red sheep in grazelands. So these are all the advantages of when animals going for grazing. And here you can see this goat grazing, and here you can see in the down sheep and goat multiple species grazing, which will improve the vegetation of that field. So now one more adaptable technique is alley creeping technique. Nowadays, methane mitigation, global warming reduction, and sustainability. These all words are last 10 years catchy words. Thereby, we can reduce the global warming and improve the productivity in sustainable manner. So here, the agroforestry plays a major role. Everyone know agroforestry is contributing that carbon footprint, carbon credit through growing the different types of trees. So agroforestry scheme is running in Tanuvas. There we have doing that alley cropping technique. So in this technique, in the hedgerow and bunds, even in the farmer land where the people are doing that zero grazing, internal they can grow up small types of fodders like perennial fodders, grasses like that. In the border of land, we can grow that different types of trees. So the tree leaves can be used as a feeding, and exclusively the legumes trees, Erythrina, Gliricidia, Lucania, Subabul are well tasty to the goats for feeding these legumes, and we can produce, we can give the protein through these fodders. So small ruminants can be grown by using these alley techniques. We can cut and carry these tree fodders and feed the animals every throughout year. So structural carbohydrates are high. So definitely these structural carbohydrates and along with another dry fodders we can introduce, definitely it can be well utilized. So the only the thing, poor palatability will be there, nutrient utility will be restricted because of presence of secondary compounds. So proper inclusion level along with this tree fodders with other type of material like perennial fodder or any dry fodder we can introduce, definitely we can give very good feed to the animals. So here you can see this 3-tier system. So top one is Gliricidia, this is perennial grass fodder, and this is Subabul short variety. So at a time we can introduce this carbohydrate, protein, minerals, everything to the animals. And here you can see this Desmanthus hedge lucerne also can be replaced with these perennial fodders. How we are going to give the nutrients, according to that we can manipulate. And here you can see this horticulture guava tree. With that we can see this Cenchorus ciliaris grasses. And this is farmer field where he has established the Desmanthus in horticulture. So again, the benefits of hydroponics, I need not explain much on this hydroponics fodders because it has that definitely it is easily growing, less utilization of water, environment friendly, and vitamin A is available more. Only the problem with fiber. So here I can say where the zero grazing is followed, there we can introduce that dry fodder which will have the high nutritive value. Wherever that deficient of green fodder, vitamin A, that time we can take it this hydroponics. So basically traditional knowledge is available on hydroponic fodder production for our religious activities. Even in southern parts of country, every people are doing this hydroponic production of this traditional method. So hydroponic fodder production traditionally is easy and adaptable by the farmers. So with this technology in our Institute of Animal Nutrition, Dr. S. Gunasegaran, Assistant Professor, has developed low-cost hydroponic fodder production technology and introduced to the farmers during drought condition. I'm repeatedly saying this is not the standard feed to the animals. During drought condition, each tray produced 7 to 8 kgs of green fodder, which was useful to the farmers to introduce to the animals where they have the deficient of green fodder. So in this condition, this hydroponic fodder is very supportive. So for example, some farmers are very near to city. They don't have the land. Very limited places are available. All the materials they are purchasing from outside. So to reduce the cost of production, they can introduce this low cost hydroponic fodders. And different materials we have utilized for hydroponic for production: yellow maize, pearl millet, finger millet, and proteinaceous sources, khas gram, sunham, and mothbane. So these are all the technique which we can utilize in adaptable techniques. So this is feeding to the animals. And another thing is azola feeding. So when in extensive rearing of the sheep and goat, animal going for the grazing, and if it is coming back to the home, the azola production is very zero cost, very minimum cost. By only by introducing this manure and maintenance of the things, we can feed the animal with azola. So everyone knows it is contains very good quantity of essential amino acid, 25 to 35% of protein, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, all minerals are available. It easily digestible and low lignin content, so definitely improves the digestibility. And the earthworms, nowadays we are facing lot of problem for introducing the commercially available feed ingredient, or if you say conventional feed ingredient which supplies the protein to the animals. So it is too high cost. Because of that, we are trying to search and find the different type of protein supplements through different ingredients. So earthworm plays most important role because it contains 64 to 70% in dry powder. So it can be utilized and giving the amino acid complex which is required by the animal, the same complex produced by this earthworm and given to the animals. So absolutely it increases the productivity and increases the income also. So this is one of the important research thing which we are doing nowadays, earthworm feeding. And nanotechnology, yes, in advanced feeding technology, nanotechnology has been introduced to all species of animals. So more particularly highly utilized in the poultry. So at the same time in Madras Veterinary College, Tanvas also started to utilize these nano materials, nano minerals, nano calcium, nano zinc, nano selenium, nano copper, nano cobalt. So many nano things that has been produced at smaller level and has been introduced. And the higher availability, it is there. So instead of inorganic production, green synthesis also has been carried out in NANP. They have produced different types of nanominerals from different types of plants, as you have seen in this photograph, and they have started to utilize in the feeding regimen of the sheep and goat and different livestock and poultry to see the effects. The only thing my worry is on nanominerals is what is that excretion, how it affects the environment. We don't have much study on that, and almost it is too costly when we try to have that feeding management in sustainable mode. So this is electron microscopy. There they are utilizing to study about that nanomaterials. So the final one is in advanced feeding technique is precision feeding. Almost last 20 years we are talking about this precision feeding, but the difficulty is implementation in our field condition. So in agriculture, people are going for precision farming in all type of precision cultivation like banana, sugarcane, whatever else. Exclusively on fruits, they are going for precision farming. But in precision animal nutrition, this is the very good thing, feeding that precisely meet nutritional requirements for optimum production efficiency. It produces better quality livestock products, and most importantly contribute to the environment. Cleaner environment reduces the methane production. So again, the cost is most important when we apply this precision feeding. So this is very good photographs that we can imagine that electronic tag can be fixed into that animal, which will have the sensor. It can give the body temperature, rumen temperature, methane emission, how much quantity of feed has been degraded or digested. According to that quantity of feed can be fed. According to the weight, automatically this system can displace that nutrient or feed to the animals, so it can be fed. So high advanced system, it's less laborious, and definitely it gives good improvement on the productivity. So I have included the sustainable production. What is the meaning of sustainable production? It should be economic, it should be environmental friendly, it should be sustainable in the social. So combined to these all together, how is it possible to have like these advanced feeding techniques? It's highly question mark. So the possible ways for adoption of advanced feeding techniques in sheep and goat. What else we can do? What are the advanced feeding techniques? Everyone knows. So I need not to explain much on this. Concentrate feeding, pellet feeding, TMR, complete feed block, additives, nutraceuticals, secondary metabolites which are available in the market, hydroponic fodders with high cost equipment, earthworm feeding, and nanomineral supplementation. If we go and introduce these things to our poor farmers, will they accept? It's very difficult because cost involvement. So what are the possible ways of these adaptable feeding techniques? Adapted forages. So we need to think on the different types of forages and legumes which can increase the productivity of the animal while the animal going for grazing. So the locally present scientists of crop and animal have involved together and find out that locally available species of grasses which will sustain with the drought, and it should be available throughout the year. We have to study and find the ways for making adoption of these forages in this range management. So this is most important adaptable techniques. And after that, we can go for agro-industrial byproducts utilization. And what are all the methodologies? What is that? Now again we have to screen for this nutritive value of agro-industry byproducts because the processing method has been completely changed. But nutritionists have not involved to analyze that available resources, agro-industrial byproducts nowadays. It is most important because I'm doing one project which is the titled of evolving non-forage fiber-based TMR exclusively for small ruminants. For this project, I have roamed throughout Tamil Nadu. Almost 15 districts of Tamil Nadu have completed. If you take these pulses products, I can say this story. All pulses are produced in north part of country. All those pulses, almost 80% coming down to the south parts of Tamil Nadu, where the environment is suitable for drying. They are processing and sending back. But think about the byproducts. The processing method completely changed. In older days, they used to remove the outer coat, outer husk, this and that. But nowadays, if you introduce in a one machine, everything separated and pulled together, even with broken part of seeds and coming out. So I have collected lot of byproducts of pulses and have subjected for the nutritive value. So, and again, that availability. If you think that availability is more in the southern parts of Tamil Nadu. And if you see only 20 to 30% of processing instruments or industry have been introduced in northern parts of country, they have started to produce their own. But the byproducts availability is different. And here also in southern parts of Tamil Nadu, only 15 to 20% of pulses byproducts are fed. Remaining are coming back to the northern parts of Tamil Nadu and some parts, some amounts going for southern parts of states like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Karnataka. And if you see these wheat processing industries are more in border of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Nowadays, it's most grown in north part of countries of processing industries. So it depends upon the processing industries, the availability of agro-industrial byproducts are available. So according to that availability, according to the processing method, we need to redo the work of nutritive value of this byproduct. Definitely it can be utilized. So this is most important that we have to do. And we have to evolve the locally available different resources, different byproducts. For example, if the one particular land is most pertaining to the fruit production, think about the fruit waste and fruit leaves. So in this way, we have to explore the utilization of locally available resources. Likewise, for fodder shrubs, tree fodders, those things we have to do. And definitely the low-cost hydroponic fodder can be introduced wherever the green fodder deficiencies are there. Azula feeding also is low cost, and instead of nano mineral supplementation, we have high question on mineral mixer feeding to the small ruminants. It's highly question. So these things are constraints of advanced feeding techniques and the easy to adaptable feeding techniques. So what are all the constraints of adoption of advanced adaptable feeding techniques? Yes, of course, 2/3 farmers are unorganized sector. So zero input and getting something output, selling one animal for each function and running their life. This is the condition of rearing of sheep and goat. And we don't have any special feed for meat purpose like broiler. So this is the situation, less than only 5% going for intensive and more than 75% going for extensive. So if we are as a nutritionist, if we are going to advise the farmers for intensive, think about the feeding cost. And the second thing, the availability of exclusive sheep and goat feed in the market. No, people are using only cattle feed. Most of the people are using cattle feed where people are following the stall feed. And investment cost. So the policy decision should be made on price fixation and need for milk of goat and milk cost. If those things can be done, definitely it is possible. To implement those things, what else we have to do? As I said, we need more research on adaptable feeding techniques. Definitely for each and every species, we go for region-wise identification of feed and fodder. Then only we can solve the problem of demand for feed and fodder for all species, not only for sheep and goat. So once you find those things, after identifying the agro-industrial byproducts or locally available feed resources, or if you are introducing any forages to the rangeland, it has to be popularized. So for those things, the policy decision has to support. So the constraints of adoption of advanced feeding techniques, almost repeatedly I'm saying that small and marginal farmers are rearing this sheep and goat. And meat production is not followed according to the market age because it has poor nutrition. So most of the farmers are going for extensive rearing. So we are mostly depends on the tree fodders and grasses without concentrate. So definitely it affects your production. So meat cost does not commensurate to intensive farming system. So, and also direct marketing of farm produce to the consumers without involvement of the middle agent. So ways and means to take forward, definitely we have to introduce these TMR and complete feed blocks by utilizing locally available feed resources and agro-industrial byproducts, which is more available in the particular region. And adoption of secondary metabolites feeding through introducing the shrubs and tree fodders, thereby we can reduce the methane production. And feed additives, definitely we can introduce by utilization of these tree fodders and shrubs, thereby we can reduce the feeding cost and increase the productivity. And gut health should be maintained by periodical warming and promotion of beneficial gut microbiota. In specific breeds we have to develop for meat production, and multi-specialty approach we should have for the meat and milk production, from genetic person, nutrition person, management person, disease control, everything. So almost everything it is possible if the government support for the policy decision of feed and fodder technology, price fixation for goat milk, chavan, mutton, and quality meat production. Here I can share my experience. When I have done the research on sheep and goat, we have found that whether we can go for introducing the locally available resources TMR, or else different time, different type of feeding with concentrate or secondary compound containing tree fodders and dry fodder, so that we can manipulate the rumen fermentation parameters to control the emission of methane. So in that way of research has to be done, and that practices should be applicable to the farmers, easily adaptable. Then only it is possible to move forward for sustainable production with the advanced balanced feeding diet. So thank you one and all.